establishing a committee of 7 to 9 residents to include boat club members, special board members, and other interested people. The special board scheduled a follow-up meeting of February 13 to appoint applicants. I advised the village board of the special board's action, and on Monday, January 27, asked that an email blast be sent inviting applicants for this boat club site working group. This was not done despite repeated requests, and no explanation was ever provided. Without an open invitation process, I concluded that the special board had no alternative but to cancel its planned February 13 meeting. Local Law 30-08, establishing the special board, clearly gives it the authority to set up working groups, and it is not clear to me why this effort to have an open, public process to develop a consensus for the use of that village property was apparently thwarted. The special board continues to clean up the draft LWRP with the objective of making it available to the public on the village's website and to those preparing a revised village code and historic district guidelines. We are encouraged by the awarding of a $75,000 grant from NYSERDA for code revisions, but understand that there may be substantial revisions to the grant agreement before it can be implemented. Questions?
I think that's a rather harsh word to say, apparently thwarted, but you make it sound like it's a conspiracy that the village board apparently just wanted to do that on purpose. I actually, I don't know how you feel about it, but I actually take offense to that type of vocabulary.
I don't know what other vocabulary can actually convey what seems to have happened.
I think the disconnect is really where that open process happens, whether or not it happens at the special board or whether or not it happens at the village board. I don't think nobody's talking about thwarting an open process. I think we're just talking, I think that what the disconnect and disagreement is, and that's certainly for the mayor to discuss with you and the village attorney to help us understand, is really who's running that open process and exactly how we move towards this framework of this re-envisioning of the boat club.
I don't think we're really talking about an open process. We've got doors closing right, left, and back. And you've got, you send a letter to the DEC that says that you ask the DEC to replicate the footprint of the building in its preparation of the site for a new building. That's not an open process. That should never have been included in that letter. If you really intended that site to have to be reviewed in an open manner, in a manner that says, what is the best use for that property, it would not have included in that letter. And I think that the response, the special board made a very reasonable proposal. They sent an email to Ralph suggesting this prior to presenting the idea to the special board. Ralph said, yes, it's a good idea, go forward with this. I presented it to the special board. The special board unanimously accepted the concept and said, let's go forward with this. And I attempted to have a request for applicants issued by the village board. Nothing was done. I requested it several times. And no explanation was given to me.
I mean, obviously it's Ralph's email, but I can certainly understand how you could read that email as an approval. I think what my read of that email was, yes, in concept I agree with the idea of a committee talking about this. I didn't read it that he was telling the special board to proceed, but I could certainly see why it could be interpreted that way. Maybe that's part of the disconnect. But it's certainly for Ralph to say that
right.
It's just, you know,
right. The response to the email was, I think that the open public process is a good idea. I never agreed to, and as a matter of fact, in the email it said, I just don't know what the village board, how the makeup should be. You know, and I think, you know, I guess one of my comments is, you know, we don't necessarily need a special board to have an open public process. You know, we can, you know, gladly do that. The special board did tremendous work in you know, getting its input and putting in the comp plan. You know, so my opinion was the work is already done. I didn't see the need for the special board to take it upon themselves to do the process again. You know, that's village property that we are, you know, we oversee the village property, and you know, we weren't offended by the fact that, hey, let's see if we can have the building footprint be there again. We didn't say it was going there, we're not signing on to a lease. We are working through the process at the village board level, and, we absolutely have that right, and we're going to do that. We will have the open process, but, as I said earlier, we don't have, the village board itself, is looking for the common grounds. We're looking for the common ground for the people, so, just jumping into a public process, I don't think it's fair to us, because we're not sure where, we want this public process to go. And to have a whole nother group driving it, I would have to assume that, and I know for a fact the rest of the board would agree with me, and, that isn't what we wanted to do. We can handle this process, and we will handle it, and we will have the public input. And we will use the board and special board did already through the comp plan, and we will use the special board when we need information of what information you got and why you got it. So, that was the intent was to agree with you that, yes, it'll be a public process. I didn't give you the go-ahead to create that group, and I understand, your intentions, but that wasn't our intention, and, so that's really, the gist of where I stand on this issue.
Who, apart from the boat club, preparing a concept plan for that site?
Nobody's preparing concept plans at this time.
My understanding, the boat club is indeed preparing a concept plan for that site. They're the only entity that's preparing a concept plan for that site.
I wouldn't say we're at that point, but it's certainly within their rights. I mean, we see firehouse, we see firehouse plans that, they come to us in the village.
I had a concept plan for parking,
Yeah.
Yeah, the concept plan is just that, it is a concept.
Yeah, and to that, speaking in Ralph's defense, that parking hadn't been shown to us. I really have an issue with folks kind of jumping on these things and not really asking the questions, to just say, hey, what is this? Is this an idea, or are you doing this? We seem to quickly rush to, you're doing this. What I'm concerned about with comments like that is we really kind of squash people's ability to kind of stick their necks out and reach and come up with new ideas. So certainly engage the boards and shoot us an email and say, is this something you're thinking about? Is this something you're doing? I hadn't seen that plan before, and obviously I have my reaction to it, but it's just a reaction to an idea. I think to the extent that we really kind of jump on these things, we start to kind of squash, people's creativity and their willingness to come up and think outside the box with ideas. So yes, I wouldn't be surprised if the boat club would consider doing a concept plan, but I don't know.
10 years left on their lease.
Well, yeah, and that's part of the issue too, is that we have to understand is there is a business deal that is in effect here, right? There is 10 years left on their lease. I don't think this board, I certainly would not support trying to displace them based on the condemnation of this building. I know you disagree with the interpretation of the lease. We will certainly go with the village attorney's interpretation of the lease.
And change it
Okay.
to